Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, selamat hari Minggu dan selamat berpuasa. Hari ini kita membawa khas satu program yang mana kita menjemput di studio kita kedutaan embassy ataupun kedutaan Palestin yang berada di Malaysia. Kita bersama dutanya iaitu Encik Walid Abu Ali bersama kita hari ini untuk membincangkan berkenaan dengan penyerangan Israel terhadap Masjid Al Aqsa yang berlaku 2 hari lepas dan masih lagi diserang oleh Israel bertubi-tubi dan tidak berhenti. Bersama kita ambassador ataupun duta daripada Palestin iaitu Encik Walid Abu Ali. Assalamualaikum Mr. Walid.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for hosting me on this very critical moment for Palestine and the Palestinians. And let me start just wishing Malaysia and the Malaysians a Ramadan Mubarak and kullu aam wa antum bikhair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Walid, the reason we call you again here to the studio is about the recent attack again by Israel at the Al Aqsa Mosque. Okay, but before we go to that subject, we would like to refresh and to make the viewer understand more how important Al Aqsa Mosque towards Palestine, the Muslim community in the world. Can you explain to the viewer and to us how important Al Aqsa Mosque?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. A very good question that we can start with and just cover a little bit about the history.
Yes.
Al Aqsa Mosque is the first Qibla. When we think or talk about Al Masjid Al Aqsa, let's go back to centuries, even before Islam.
Okay.
When Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was instructed by Almighty Allah on the famous trip of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, he could easily, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, could easily instruct Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ to climb up to heaven from Mecca or from Medina. But the message to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ from Almighty Allah that you have to travel from Mecca to Al Aqsa.
Okay.
And in Al Aqsa Mosque, he offered a famous prayer. He was the Imam for all prophets and messengers, more than 25,000 prophets and messengers offered the prayer on the backyard of Al Aqsa Mosque. He was the Imam before climbing up to heaven from the rock, which is underneath of the dome of the rock.
The small area?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why Al Aqsa Mosque is very important to the 1.7 billion Muslims around the world. Al Aqsa is not a Palestinian property.
Okay.
It's not an Arab property.
Okay.
It's an Islamic property, belongs to all Muslims around the globe.
Okay.
So the importance of Al-Aqsa Mosque is an issue, a very sensitive issue for all Muslims around the world. When the Israelis violate the international law by invading Al-Aqsa Mosque, they are actually irritating and hurting all Muslims around the globe.
Okay.
That's the importance of Al-Aqsa Mosque. Al-Aqsa Mosque, when it was the first Qibla, and before Mecca, at the moment, pilgrims, when they go to offer Hajj or Umrah, their Hajj and Umrah is not completed without visiting Al-Aqsa Mosque. I didn't say that. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in his hadith, when he said that if you can't go to visit Al-Aqsa Mosque, you have to make sure that you can send an oil to light the candles in Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Can I say this Al Aqsa Mosque is the first mosque in the world?
The first Qibla.
First Qiblat, okay.
The first mosque is Al-Haram,
Okay.
Al-Masjid Al-Haram
Okay.
in Mecca.
Okay.
40 years after building the first mosque in Mecca, which is Al-Masjid Al-Haram,
Yeah.
Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa was built.
Okay.
So the difference was 40 years between Al-Masjid Al-Haram in Mecca Al-Mukarramah
Okay.
and Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa in
Okay.
Al-Quds.
Okay.
So when we say Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, we always remember the first Qibla. We always remember that all Muslims need to visit where they can. I know at the moment Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa is under the Israeli occupation. The Israeli control the borders to Palestine. So if you have to go and visit Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, you have either to get the permission of the Israelis because they control the borders, or you have to coordinate and you have to have a special coordination to enable you to go and visit Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. Even Palestinians who are in Palestine, they are facing so many challenges of being unable to go and offer the prayer in Al-Aqsa Mosque. I'll give you just an example of last night.
Okay.
The Taraweeh took over in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa Mubarak 45,000 Palestinians from within Israel, from the West Bank, and unfortunately our people in Gaza are unable to cross the borders between Gaza and the West Bank to go and offer prayer in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. If Palestinians are free to go and offer the prayer in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa could have up to 1 million people praying, especially during the holy month
It's a
of
very
Ramadan.
large place, huh?
It is, yeah, it's 144 dunams,
Okay.
14,000 square meters.
Okay.
That's, we consider it Al-Haram Sharif. So it can accommodate up to 1 million
Okay.
easily,
Inside and outside.
inside and outside, yeah, in the
Okay.
backyard.
Okay.
Yes.
How do the Palestinians celebrate their Ramadan during these difficult times in Al-Aqsa?
With all difficulties, the Israeli army, the Israeli settlers, the Israeli government are putting as challenges in front of Palestinians, but Palestinians continued to do their best to reach Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa Al-Mubarak. The 5 prayers, there are the Al-Aqsa defenders who sleeps 24 hours in Al-Aqsa Mosque. Just to make sure that it is protected and the settlers do not invade Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. So regularly, Palestine is similar to any other Muslim country, that the 5 prayers offered in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. We do, in Ramadan, it's a very special moment because, as you know, as Al-Hadith Al-Sharif, that the praying in Al-Masjid Al-Haram and in Al-Masjid Al-Nabawi in Medina and in Masjid Al-Aqsa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compensate you 500 times for each rak'ah in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. So 1 rak'ah as a Muslim in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa equal to 500 rak'ahs anywhere else. That's why it's important for all Muslims to go and offer the prayer in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa.
Mr. Ambassador, every year for decades, Israel has been attacking Al-Aqsa. Actually, what Israel wants to achieve at Al-Aqsa?
Let me clarify 2 things. Number 1, the Israelis or Judaism, they believe that the temple is underneath, temple is buried underneath of Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Okay.
So strategically they are planning to destroy Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa and rebuild the temple instead of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa.
Okay.
And there is a group within the Jews who believe on that. And now for more than 100 years that they believe, that's why this year the violation of the international law carried out, and this group of settlers supported by the Israeli police and the Israeli army decided to invade Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa backyard to kill a sheep to sacrifice, according to them, because they believe if they have the blood on the backyard of Masjid Al Aqsa, then they are able to, this is the signal for them to rebuild the temple instead of Al Masjid Al Aqsa.
Okay.
That's why they exaggerated this year in particularly, and they have been planning for this for more than 100 years. That's why even if you asked me this question before last Friday, I easily highlighted, to some of my colleagues in the diplomatic corps and some of my friends in Malaysia, how important was and how sensitive it was last Friday when the Israelis decided to allow the settlers to invade the backyard of Al Aqsa Mosque, and that created the direct clash between Palestinians and the Israelis within Al Aqsa Mosque, and that led the Israeli army to invade Al Aqsa inside Al Masjid Al Aqsa, and they arrested and they shot and injured so many Palestinians on that invasion.
Mr. Ambassador, I just want to ask you another question. What is meaning of Al Aqsa? Many people is asking this question. Al Aqsa, the meaning of
Al Aqsa in Arabic is the far.
Okay.
Aqsa is the farthest even.
Okay.
When it's mentioned in the Quran, Subhana, A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitan Rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Subhana alladhi asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-Masjid al-Haram, which is in Mecca, ila al-Masjid al-Aqsa, alladhi barakna hawlahu. Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Aqsa is far. When I say you live far from me, you are Aqsa.
Okay. Okay.
So Aqsa
meaning
is far
from Mecca.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So the distance between Mecca and Al Aqsa is about 1,500 kilometers, about 1,000 miles from Mecca to Bayt al-Maqdis to Al-Quds. So that's a trip, that trip when it was carried out by Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu that's one of the famous trips carried out by alayhi salatu wassalam when he decided to visit Al-Quds, to visit Al-Aqsa Mosque, to offer the prayer there, and then climb to heaven, and then came back within one night. That's one of the miracles, that Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, with the support of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that trip had took place.
How is the historical assets in Al-Aqsa is being taken care today?
Al-Aqsa at the moment is managed by the two ministries of Awqaf, the Palestinian Ministry of Awqaf and the Jordanian Ministry of Awqaf. Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa has its own administration, its own management. I was in Palestine last August and I visited Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, alhamdulillah, and I offered a prayer over there together with my wife. And I met with the management of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. My visit was on the first Hijrah day. I celebrated with them the first day of the Hijrian year. And all Al-Aqsa management was there. And I met with all management of Al-Aqsa, and they all appreciative to what Malaysia and the Malaysians are doing in terms of supporting Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. And the solidarity of Malaysia and the Malaysians to Al-Quds is highly appreciated. I think the issue of Al-Quds is an important issue for all Malaysians. And whenever Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa is mentioned to Malaysians, I think you touch their hearts. The issue is very emotional to all Malaysians, and Malaysians are very much loyal to continue and keep their ongoing support and solidarity to Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa.
There is news coming out all these years about Al-Aqsa and mentioning people wants to know, some of the Muslim, majority of the Muslim understand and know, and some of the non-Muslim want to know which prophet has been buried in Al-Aqsa.
There are Sahabas, not prophets.
Okay, okay.
Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, Sayyidina Ismail, Sayyidina Yaqub are buried in Al-Khalil on the Masjid Al-Haram Al-Ibrahimi in Al-Khalil, in Hebron, to the south of Masjid Al Aqsa.
Okay.
But in Masjid Al Aqsa, there are so many Sahabas are buried within the backyard of Al Masjid Al Aqsa.
The graveyard is still
Yes,
there.
the grave is still there. Yes, yes, yes. So many of the Sahabas are buried there.
Yeah.
But the importance of Al Masjid Al Aqsa,
Yeah.
as I told you, no one can ignore that. As much as it is important for the Muslims within Al Quds, Christianity as well, they have and they share important of maintaining Al Quds as a holy city for the three religions, and we believe in that. We believe in that. But what the Israelis are planning or trying to do is, they believe that when the United States of America, when Donald Trump declared Al-Quds as the capital of Israel, that gave them the right to take over all the land, including Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa in the holy city. Unfortunately, Donald Trump, with his declaration, gave the Israelis a free hands to do what they want to do, and supported their future planning of destroying all elements of the history which protect the Muslims' rights, which must be maintained in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa and in the holy city of Al-Quds. And we as Palestinians believe that with the declaration of Donald Trump and the American administration is not as important as the promise given by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had said, and Prophet Muhammad had said, that Muslims fi ribat ila yawm ad-din, that we will continue to fight Al-Aqsa and fight Al-Bayt Al-Muqaddas ila yawm ad-din, till the end. So we believe that we will continue our struggle to protect and to safeguard the Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa with our blood, with our bodies, with our children, with our all what we can do. Palestinians are very much doing their best to maintain the protection of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa.
Mr. President, Mr. Ambassador, one more question that I have to you about, I'm going to ask you is about this Al-Aqsa. Original of Al-Aqsa, who built this Al-Aqsa mosque? The original person or original group?
As I told you, Al-Aqsa Mosque was built 40 years after Masjid Al-Haram in Mecca Al-Mukarramah.
Yes.
Who built it?
Yes.
I honestly do not know. But the Dome of the Rock,
Okay.
which is just beside Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa,
Okay.
which is covering the rock where Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ climbed to heaven.
Yeah.
This was built by Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, Khalifa Abdul Malik ibn Marwan.
Palestinian.
No, the Khalifa of the
Khalifa,
Muslimin.
okay.
Khalifa.
Okay, Khalifa. Okay.
He is the Khalifa of the Muslim Ummah, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, during the Umayyan days.
Okay, okay.
He is the one who had built Qubbat al-Sakhra.
Okay.
Since then, it's been maintained. But on the famous trip of Umar ibn al-Khattab, Khalifa Umar ibn al-Khattab, when he visited Al-Quds, I mean, the only country, the only place he visited on the famous trip from after the trip of Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ was the trip of Umar ibn al-Khattab, and at that time Al-Quds and the key of Al-Quds was on the hands of Salibi, of the Christians. And when he reached over there, it's a famous trip, I mean, of Umar ibn al-Khattab, when he reached the church over there, and the keys of Al-Quds was handed over to him, and he was asked to offer the prayer in the church, and he refused, and he said, if I pray here, then it will become a Muslim property. So he decided to go outside the church, and he offered the prayer over there before reaching Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. And after that, they built the mosque, which is called Umar Mosque, which is in front of the church inside the holy city of Al-Quds. So when Sayyidina Muhammad had visited Al-Quds, Umar ibn Khattab, Khalifa Umar ibn Khattab visited Al-Quds. Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, in his famous war when he had managed to fight the Salibiyin in Al-Quds, and Bayt al-Muqaddas was free on the hands of Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, and he visited Masjid Al Aqsa at that time, which was a very famous history of Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi when he traveled through Bilad al-Sham at that time and visited Al-Quds and Al-Bayt al-Muqaddas.
Mr. Ambassador, we have some videos now being playing on air regards to what happening in Al Aqsa for the past 1-2 days. So can you just little bit brief us what is happening there on these videos?
Of course, there is nothing new for the Israeli army and the Israeli police when they decide to go in and violate Al Aqsa, and the holiest, place for the whole Muslim Ummah. Easily you can say that when these are some of the settlers who try to wear as Muslims, and they try to behave as Arabs.
Okay.
So they can invade and go into Al-Aqsa Mosque undercover.
Okay.
But actually the bodyguards and the security of Masjid Al Aqsa, up until now, they managed to identify them, and usually they report them to the police, and the Israeli police sometimes arrest them and take them over. Look into this armed policeman attacking a Palestinian student, a female student, and he had her in front of the cameras, in front of everybody, and she was at the entrance of Al-Aqsa Mosque. That's the light where of the main entrance of Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Okay.
Al-Masjid Al-Qibli, they call it. You see, these are the Red Crescent Palestinians trying to provide first aids to those injured Palestinians who were injured by the Israeli army and the Israeli police. Of course, the number of the Israeli policemen, which was pushed to Al-Aqsa last Friday morning, with 6 hours difference between Palestine and Malaysia, it was almost evening. Now that's inside Al-Masjid Al-Qibli, inside Al-Aqsa Mosque. Look, the smoke, grenades, the attack of the Israeli army.
Okay. This is in the mosque?
This is inside the mosque, yes. This is inside Al-Masjid Al-Qibli. And even Al-Masjid Al-Marwani was attacked by the police as well, and they sieged Palestinians inside Al-Masjid Al-Marwani. You see the Palestinians sitting over there, and you see the policemen, and the Israeli police over there are just not leaving them alone, And when we talk, unfortunately, the Western world look into Israel as the protector of the human rights and democracy, and when you see these numbers of troops, military troops, attack innocent civilians with no reason. The only reason they are in Al-Aqsa Mosque is just to offer the prayer. And when they say, you see how they treat Palestinians, you see? Even journalists and media people with cameras targeted and attacked by the Israeli police and Israeli army. You see, the Israeli police are more than the Palestinians who are trying just to be in Al-Aqsa Mosque to offer the prayer. And this is what just being managed, to get some videos. There are a lot more that they were unable to record, unable to maintain.
So, looking at this video, Mr. Ambassador, the objective of Israel is to clear 100% zero people in Al-Aqsa.
Yes, totally true. And the issue is the international community, unfortunately, are watching and seeing what is happening by the Israelis. And we as Palestinians believe that with the double standards, look, although we condemn and we are in favor of international community providing safety and security to all civilians around the globe.
Yeah.
And definitely we are against the killing of civilians anywhere. But unfortunately, the international community, and particularly the Western world, were standing on one leg, you know, trying to support Ukrainians from the Russians. And they managed within weeks to get resolutions to provide sanctions on Russia against what's happening in Ukraine.
Yes.
And we as Palestinians have been suffering for more than 7 decades.
Yes.
And all the Security Council and General Assembly's resolutions, which was taken in favor of Palestinians, unfortunately, the international community were unable to implement any of these resolutions. That's where we ask the $1 million question is, why this international community can't be fair, can't stand the same distance for both Palestinians and Israelis. When a Palestinian child throws a stone against an Israeli military jeep, it's called terrorism. But when the Israeli state terrorism carried out by the Israeli government, the Israeli police and the Israeli army against innocent Palestinians, the maximum we could get out of the international community is just to condemn. Even sometimes they are shy, condemn, what the Israelis are doing. That's where we feel we are victims of the double standards. Why and until when international community will continue to be silent? Why international community for once just
when you
take
talk
serious?
about international community, why they are silent?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Americans, I'm talking about the European. Let's take example as Ukraine. Everybody comes in Europe, America to support Ukraine, you know. They send their weapon, they send everything. Now, do you think Russia will come and help you?
Well, we always maintained excellent relation with Russia. We try as Palestinians, even with the issue of Russia and Ukraine, issue, we as Palestinians, since we are under occupation, try to maintain, we don't want to lose Russia, we don't want to lose Ukraine. We have, Ukraine is an important country, we have an embassy, we have diplomatic relation with Ukraine, and Russia is a good supporter, one of the quartet who supports our rights and supports our people. So we want to maintain good relations with both Russia and Ukraine. And as I said earlier, we condemn the killing of civilians, whether they are Russians, whether they are Ukrainians. We totally against the killing of civilians. And we believe that negotiation and a peaceful solution is the solution for the issue of Ukraine and Russia. And we do support, and we are member, of the international community, and we are supporting any peaceful solution between Russia and Ukraine. But Russians always supported us. Russian always, provided us with a great support. At the same time, Russia has got diplomatic relations with Israel, and we know they have good relations with the Israelis. But we remember always that we see Russia as a member of the quartet, and we see Russia as a member of those who can implement, who can help in implementing a final comprehensive peace agreement in the Middle East, together with the European Union, together with the United States of America and the United Nations. So we always look to the Russians to play a positive role in the Palestinian cause and help Palestinians to enjoy peace and to enjoy final settlement, to have an independent Palestinian state with Al-Quds as its capital, with Masjid Al Aqsa to be free and open for all Muslim Ummah to go and offer a prayer in Masjid Al Aqsa.
Mr. Walid, Mr. Ambassador, why the Muslim community or the Muslim country like Turkey, Indonesia, Brunei, Iran, Iraq, Saudi are not sending their troops to assist Palestine?
Well, practically, and let me just as an ambassador, as a diplomat, give you a diplomatic answer. Unfortunately, the Muslim Ummah is ununited. We have our own challenges in front of all Muslim countries. Our enemies had created so many challenges in front of the Muslim leaders. They created this issue of Shiite and Sunnit. radicals and moderate. They're trying to divide Muslim, and they created challenges for each Muslim country. OIC countries just met in Islamabad 2 weeks ago on a ministerial level, which was a very important foreign ministers meeting. And Malaysia participated in that meeting. The deputy foreign minister was there, Dr. Sri Qamaruddin Jafar, who attended on behalf of Pakistan. And the speech was clear on behalf of Malaysia. And the message of Malaysia was clear to all international community on the position of Malaysia towards the Palestinian cause. And other issues were discussed, like the Afghani issues and all of that. But why Muslim countries can send troops? Practically, they can't. Because America and the Western world, always since the creation of Israel, had maintained Israel as a superpower in the Middle East.
Okay.
Regardless of how much strong Muslim countries, like, I'll give you an example. Pakistan is the second biggest Muslim country. And Pakistan is the only Muslim country with nuclear facilities. But Pakistan is too far from Palestine. Even if they want to send troops to Palestine, it's too far, and they have to get and negotiate with all other Muslim and Arab countries around Israel. But even if Muslim countries decide to send troops to Palestine, they, number one, United States of America will not allow that. The Western world will not allow that. And they always look to Israel to represent their interests in the Middle East. And that's why they maintained Israel as a superpower in the Middle East. And that's why we believed as Palestinians that negotiation is the solution at the moment. We have to reach, through a peaceful negotiation, to reach a final agreement and to enable Palestinians to have an independent Palestinian state, to live side by side with Israel, with Al-Quds as its capital, according to the international resolutions and international law on the 1967 borders, where a Palestinian state can be created and can be recognized by the international community and by Israel. And the Israelis themselves know very well that they had tried peace treaty with Egyptians in Camp David. They had tried peace treaty with Jordan and Wadi Araba. They know very well that the core issue, the cornerstone of any settlement in the Middle East is to put an end to the Palestinian suffering and to reach a final comprehensive peace agreement to allow Palestinians to enjoy peace similar to another nation. And they know very well that we have so much patience. What we can't achieve, our sons and grandsons will achieve. Israelis will never enjoy peace, and they will never live in peace without recognizing the Palestinian rights in an independent Palestinian state on 1967 borders, according to UN resolutions 242 and 338.
Mr. President, Mr. Ambassador, too many talks about how to resolve the issue of Palestine or Al Aqsa, okay, between countries, things like that. But things never happen at the final day. So, what makes you think that this fight, how can this fight can be stopped?
Only by the international community to urge and protect Palestinian people.
Okay.
And to push Israel towards accepting the UN resolutions and to allow Palestinians to have an independent Palestinian state to live side by side Israel. This is the only solution. There is absolutely no other solution. Israelis try to get rid of Palestinians. We try to get rid of Israelis. Unfortunately, let me clarify that our struggle is not with the Jews.
Okay.
Jews were living in peace in Palestine before the creation of Israel. Israel, as a Zionist political project, when it was created in 1948 on behalf of the Palestinian rights, Palestinians paid the bill, and they have been suffering since 1948. The international community is responsible to put an end to the suffering of Palestinians by recognizing their rights to live in peace, similar to any other nation around the world. This is the only solution, and there is no other solution beside that.
Mr. President, Mr. Ambassador, again I've said President, Mr. Ambassador, what is the difference between three mosques in the world, Muslim mosques? Al Aqsa, Medina, Mecca.
There is absolutely no difference.
Okay.
The three mosques are as important as they are to all Muslims.
Yes.
الحديث الشريف of Prophet Muhammad عليه الصلاة والسلام لا تشد الرحال إلا إلى ثلاثة مساجد, three mosques. المسجد الحرام ومسجدي هذا, which is Al-Medina, and Al-Masjid Al Aqsa.
Yeah.
So the importance of the three mosques are equal.
Okay.
Three mosques are equal to all Muslims.
Okay.
And all Muslims always must think of the three mosques at the same time. If you want to go and for Hajj or Umrah, your Hajj and Umrah can be completed only by a visit to Al-Masjid Al Aqsa. تقديس الحجة, in Arabic we say تقديس الحجة.
So if let's say I'm traveling now from Malaysia to Medina,
to Mecca or Medina.
To Medina first, and then I do my Umrah at Mecca.
Yes.
Then after that I have to go back
and visit Al-Masjid Al Aqsa. There are a lot of Malaysians are doing this.
Okay.
A lot of Malaysians, and we do encourage Malaysians to do the same.
Yeah, but can we enter to Al Aqsa?
Through special arrangements, through the Malaysian embassy in Amman, in coordination with the Jordanian authorities. Yes, we can facilitate visits of Malaysians to go and visit Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, and that's what we encourage. Because if you go and visit Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, you help Palestinians to continue their struggle, to stay where they are. Because one of the Israeli plans is to push Palestinians to leave Al-Bayt al-Muqaddas, to leave Al-Quds.
Make it zero and you're going to demolish.
And with all the taxes they are putting on Palestinians in Al-Quds, with all difficulties that they are trying to create for Palestinians inside the whole city, when we have pilgrimages, go and visit Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, go and pray in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, go and visit Hebron, and after pray in Al-Haram Al-Ibrahimi in Hebron. You help Palestinians to struggle. You help Palestinians to stay where they are, to continue. Because one of the main challenges that the Palestinians are facing, that they are trying to evacuate the holy city of Palestinians and to change the demography of the holy city, encouraging Israelis to go and live in Bayt al-Muqaddas and push Palestinians to leave it and go outside of it. So my message to all Malaysians, try and do your best to go and visit Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. Go, when you decide your trip to go to Mecca and Medina, include Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa on your trip.
Mr. Ambassador, earlier I told you about Al-Aqsa Mosque. We have five important things that you have to visit and know and understand about Al-Aqsa. Okay, one of it we already explained. You already explained about how important, so important about Al-Aqsa.
Yes.
Okay, the second question I have, what do you have in the compound of the religious in Al-Aqsa that's so significant that you must?
The Dome of the Rock, which is just beside Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, as I told you.
Okay.
That rock, when Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ climbed to heaven, and he stood on over.
Okay.
Beside that, we have Ha'it al-Buraq. Ha'it al-Buraq, which the Israelis or the Jews believe that it's the Western Wall, they call it. But from our perspective as Muslims, it's Ha'it al-Buraq. That's where the horse of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was kept when he climbed to heaven. We call it Ha'it al-Buraq. They call it the Western Wall. That's where they go and offer their prayer.
Okay.
But from our perspective, so Ha'it al-Buraq is one of them. And within Al-Aqsa Mosque, there are 5 mosques.
Within
Al-Aqsa Mosque, Al-Masjid Al-Qibli, Al-Masjid Al-Umawi.
All are big mosques or small mosques within the Al-Aqsa?
It's not small, it's big.
Big, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This, at the moment, where the struggle was when we saw over the video, which is called Al-Masjid Al-Qibli. This Al-Masjid Al-Qibli was built during the Umayyan days, but because of an earthquake, when Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa was destroyed and was rebuilt again, So Al-Aqsa Mosque is underneath Al-Masjid Al-Qibli. The Marwani Mosque, we call it, which is just on the side to the east of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. And then Qubbat Al-Sakhra. So there are 5 mosques. If you go and visit Al-Aqsa Mosque, there are 5 mosques within the 144 dunams, which is called Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa.
1 minute.
People believe...
Mr. Najmul, can you stand by on the last video that we're supposed to show the viewer on the mosque? I want you to play first on this video without the audio. I want to get the ambassador to explain about the entire mosque, the 5 important thing about the mosque. Can we have that back? This is the video.
This is the Dome of the Rock.
Okay.
With the golden dome at the top. That's where the rock, when Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam climbed to heaven.
From there.
Yeah, that's actually to the east. So it's on the east. The Dome of the Rock is here, and Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa is in front of it.
Okay.
You go down the stairs from Qubbat Al-Sakhra. That's what the Jews call it, the Temple Mountain.
Okay. The small, just now we saw the
blue color, all this is the mosque of Qubbat Al-Sakhra, Masjid Qubbat Al-Sakhra, the Dome of the Rock Mosque. That's one of the five mosques.
Okay.
So that's one. This is the one.
The small one?
This is the one. No, the big one.
I know, but the Dome of the Rock, came out the word.
That's a water well.
Water well. Okay.
Yeah. This is the one, the small one over there. Yeah.
Above the rest of the mosque's courtyard.
So that's the Dome of the Rock, clear picture of the Dome of the Rock. At the moment it's used a mosque for women. Women go and offer pray over there when there's, a praying time.
Okay, women stays inside there and pray.
Yeah, women stay in there and they offer the prayer over there. Men can go and visit, and you can go even and you visit the cave underneath, because there is a
small
cave.
area.
Yeah, a small area, which is the cave underneath the Dome of the Rock.
Yeah, we're going to see the cave after this.
Yes.
There is a video about the cave.
Yeah, that's where all the Sahabat are buried, the cemetery.
So that is the cemetery,
on the right,
the graveyard,
Yes, the graveyard.
So this is the mosque, the most important mosque that the Israel wants to demolish.
Yes, beside as well as the Masjid Al Aqsa. This is the Dome of the Rock. I'm sure we will see the other. The Al Masjid Al Aqsa, it's a silver color dome.
Okay.
The golden color is Qubbat Al Sakhra.
Okay.
The Dome of the Rock.
Yes.
Okay. That's it's like a corridor that you walk through from Qubbat Al-Sakhra. On the way to the left, you go towards Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa.
Mr. Walid, just now we saw...
you see women, Palestinian women,
yes,
because they come out of the Dome of the Rock.
Okay. Only women can go inside there?
Men can go, but during praying hour,
Only women?
Only women.
Why?
It's just to have, kind of give them privacy for women.
Okay, so this inside.
This is, now this is inside, I think, this is inside the Al-Masjid Al-Qibli, inside Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa.
Okay.
Because I know that from the carpet, because I was there over there. The carpet, the color of the carpet,
Yeah.
And now, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the defenders, the worshippers of the Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, Al-Murabitin.
Is this the main mosque?
Yes, no, we still at the Dome of the Rock.
This is the cave.
This is the cave underneath. We're still in the Dome of the Rock.
So what is the story about this cave that people wants to go inside and pray?
It's because the cave is there, the rock, you see the rock up?
Yes, that's the original rock.
That's the rock where Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam climbed to
from this small cave?
Not from the cave, from up, from the rock, up in the rock.
Yes.
So because of that, underneath the rock is the cave where people go and offer, because Sayyidina Muhammad was, standing up there.
Yeah.
So that's the cave.
Okay.
We're still in Qubbat Al-Sakhra. We're still in the Dome of the Rock Mosque.
So
on that, what we call that, the arches. There is a very famous watch. It's managed by the sunlight.
Oh.
Yeah, on the 7 arches. If you go back a little bit, can we?
Can we go back a little bit on the video?
After
Okay.
that, yeah, after that.
this.
Yeah, after this. You see in that arches over there
Yes.
on the left?
Yes, on the left.
There is stairs there that you walk through from there down to Masjid Al Aqsa on your left.
Okay.
And there is a watch over there, very famous watch. And as I said, no battery, no electricity,
Yeah.
nothing. It's run by the
So belah
sunlight.
kiri tu, saya cakap bahasa Malaysia sikit. Belah kiri tu anda tengok macam ada macam dia punya statue tu. Di situ ada satu jam. Jam itu bergerak dan beroperasi menggunakan cahaya matahari.
And usually visitors, tourists, pilgrimage, they go and stand under these arches.
Yeah.
And they take a picture with the Dome of the Rock.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's very. Anybody who visited there, I'm sure he
Yeah.
knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know that they stand under these arches and they take a picture
Yeah.
of the Dome of the Rock. You see these stairs up there. They stand on the stairs and they take a picture. Very nice view, you know, of
Yeah.
the Dome of the Rock. I don't know why in this video they never shown yet the Al Aqsa Mosque, as I told you, with the silver color dome.
Can we go further front on the video, Mr. Najma?
That's inside Al Masjid Al Qibli.
Okay. Not Al Aqsa, huh?
Al Aqsa, yeah,
Aqsa.
Al Aqsa, which is Al Masjid Al Qibli. And when I told you because of the earthquake, Al Aqsa, the origin Aqsa, which is underneath where we are now.
Okay.
This is called Al Masjid Al Qibli now. Hi, Qibli Mosque, you see?
Yes.
It's written, Al Qibli Mosque.
Yeah.
In Al Aqsa Mosque.
So the original mosque is
That's-
small.
No, it's not small, you see, it's huge.
This is the original.
Yes.
From the beginning,
No, this is now.
No, I
it's
understand.
called
I'm
Qibli.
talking about
The one which
originally
was
for our-
originally, it's underneath.
Underneath,
And,
yeah?
But
Underneath.
it's huge as well.
Okay,
It's
okay.
huge as well.
underneath this carpet, the floor.
Yes, yes, yes. Of course, inside here, Al Masjid Al Qibli, there's Manbar Salahuddin. You see, this is the silver color.
Yeah.
This is Al Masjid Al Aqsa.
Okay.
This is Al Masjid Al Aqsa.
Okay.
Inside this Al Masjid Al Aqsa is Al Manbar. You know Manbar?
Yeah, mimbar.
Manbar Salahuddin.
Yeah.
Salahuddin Al Ayyubi.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
the-
yeah,
And
yeah.
even when the Israelis had burned that, you know, they put fire in Al Aqsa Mosque and it was burned and it was rebuilt.
Yeah.
The Manbar. It's wooden, you know,
Okay.
Manbar. And many Muslim countries, including Malaysia, had contributed for the rebuilding of
Okay.
the Manbar.
Okay.
I think these people are walking down to Al Marwani, a third mosque. As I told you, there are a total of 5 mosques over there. 3 are used at the moment and 2 are closed by the Israelis. Muslims are not allowed to use.
Why?
Of course, they claim for security reasons.
Okay. Can we go a bit further?
You see the history. I mean, you see the old, constructions, the old
Okay,
building.
that's the only video that we have for us to.
Inshallah, we'll arrange a visit for you and you go and take all the pictures over there.
Yeah, we send our crew there.
Yeah,
with,
and you
with
can-
the people to guide.
Yes.
Then we will
Or we can coordinate for you
Yeah.
some, among the media community.
Yes,
we
correct.
can arrange for Palestinians co-workers, you know, that
Yes,
they could
yes,
help
yes.
and they take a very nice videos for
Yes,
you and would
yes.
explain all, the geography of Al Aqsa Mosque
Yeah.
and around Al Aqsa Mosque.
Mr. Ambassador, what is the greatest context on Al Aqsa Mosque?
It's the first Qibla.
Okay.
It is as important as Al Masjid Al Haram and
Okay.
Al Masjid Al Nabawi.
Okay.
Muslims must always remember that the importance of Al Aqsa Mosque is not less than the other 2 mosques.
Okay.
It's a one unit. As much as Al Masjid Al Haram in Mecca is important, as much as Al Masjid Al Nabawi in Medina Munawwara is important, Al Masjid Al Aqsa is an important mosque as well for all Muslim Ummah. That's the contest. It's not compromise. There's no one can compromise in that. Late Yasser Arafat, during the Clinton administration, when he was pushed to sign the final peace agreement with Israel, and they excluded Al-Aqsa Mosque out of that, And Yasser Arafat's answer at that time was, go and ask all Muslim Ummah and I'll be the last one to sign. If they accept,
he was sign.
then I will be the last one to sign.
Yeah.
That was the message of Yasser Arafat. And that's why Yasser Arafat was assassinated, and that's why Yasser Arafat was killed. That's the bill he paid personally. So no single Palestinians will accept even to think, just thinking, of giving up our struggle when it comes to Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa is strategically as important as my own residence or my own house in Palestine. This is my message to my children and my grandchildren. We will do our best. We are ready to give our lives to defend Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Mr. Ambassador, before we end up these talks, do you think, in your personal capacity or your personal opinion, do you think the best challenge to bring down Israel is by Russia?
I don't think Russia alone can do it. I don't think if there is a country who can put pressure on Israel and make Israel accept is the United States of America. Is the international community's responsibility together. If we can get to the international community to be united for once and be fair with Palestinians and take a serious decision to support Palestinians on achieving their rights of enjoying peace and security and to stop the bleeding in the Middle East for one time only. Just take a strong decision of put the pressure on Israel. Israel believe that they are exceptional and they can do what they want. They benefit out of all crises around the world. If you ask me, with the present Israeli government, which is the weakest government Israel ever had, but they are trying to benefit out of what is happening around the globe. They are benefiting out of the issue of Russia and Ukraine, between the issue of United States of America and Iran, between of what's happening in Syria and Iraq, between what's happening in Yemen and Libya. The chaos situation in many of the Arab countries because of the internal challenges, the globe economic challenges, the COVID-19 challenges. They know that there are so many other priorities. That enabled Israeli settlers to do what they want and to violate the international law and humanitarian law. That's why, if you allow me, while we are sitting today is the 17th of April. Today is the Prisoners' Day in Palestine. We do have around 5,000 Palestinians prisoners in the Israeli custody. Among them,
in Palestine?
In Israel. In Israel.
Okay.
Among them, 600 life sentence. Among them, 31 Palestinian women. Among them, 600 underage. Since January of this year up until now, Israelis arrested more than 2,500. With the invasion of Masjid Al Aqsa, just last Friday up until now, Israelis arrested more than 600 Palestinians.
How do they treat them in the prison?
I was in the Israeli custody. I was a prisoner in Israel, personally. In 1976, I was in the Israeli custody. I mean, prison is a prison, regardless where you are. If you are in Switzerland, or you are in Israel, or you are anywhere. But the most miserable daily life are given to Palestinians in the Israeli custody. Palestinians are in front of all human rights institutions, UN institutions within the Palestinian territories, Amnesty and Red Crescent and many of the international institutions who witness on daily basis the violation of the international law and the humanitarian law against Palestinians, whether they are in prison or outside the prison. And let me, while we are in the holy month of Ramadan, just remind the international community of 2 million Palestinians under siege in Gaza for almost 1.5 decades. International community witnessed the suffering of our people in Gaza for almost 15 years.
1-5.
1-5.
Yeah.
And these Palestinians are suffering in Gaza. Same thing in the West Bank with the Israeli checkpoints and Israeli settlers. Israeli settlers attacking Palestinians, innocent civilians. Settlers are armed and protected by the Israeli army and Israeli police. And they attack schools, school students, universities, hospitals, all over. Palestinians in Al-Quds and Bayt al-Maqdis are suffering because of that. We are in the holy month of Ramadan where people should be free to go and offer pray in any mosque they want. My 2 sons and my grandsons are unable to go and reach Al-Aqsa Mosque to offer the pray, which is, you know, a daily requirement needed by all Muslims. But Israelis' checkpoints and Israeli army obstacles avoid Palestinians of going and offer the prayer in Al-Aqsa Mosque. And even so, we are convinced as Palestinians, we will continue to struggle, we will continue to do what we are doing until we achieve our rights to have an independent Palestinian state, to live in peace similar to any other nation around the world.
Any country have supporting you in terms of not military, but giving military equipments for you to fight?
No.
No.
Military equipment, no. But let me, while I'm representing my country in Malaysia, with of what is happening in Al-Aqsa Mosque and in Al-Bayt al-Muqaddas as well. And I was talking to my minister yesterday. The strongest message among all Arab Muslim countries came out of Malaysia. The Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dato Sri Ismail Sabri, the Foreign Minister Saifuddin Abdullah, and even the Defense Minister Shamuddin Hussain, with their statements officially released, supporting Palestinians, showing their solidarity, which is not new. And I always repeatedly say that if there are some differences among Malaysians, Malaysians are united for Palestine. So Palestine unite all Malaysians, regardless where they are. So I'm not worried at all. Who is the Prime Minister? Who is sitting behind the steering in Malaysia? Malaysia always shown their solidarity and support to Palestine. So I always say thank you Malaysia and thank you Malaysians for your ongoing, and keep your support to Palestine and keep Palestine in your heart. And remember Al-Quds and remember Al-Aqsa, remember Gaza, remember all Palestinians, look after Palestinians until we reach the day when inshallah we will host you and welcome you in Palestine, free Palestine inshallah.
Before we end up these talks, Mr. Ambassador, I'm giving you a few minutes for you to deliver any message that you want to deliver to Malaysian, to the global people who's watching the talks and the program today. I'm allowing you to deliver a special message for people to hear what.
Well, my message, thank you very much. My message to the international community, internationally, regionally, and locally, that it's the responsibility of the international community to urge Israel to stop its violation of the international law. It's the responsibility of the international community to be fair with Palestinians once, and just to support their rights on their struggle to enable them to live in peace. A message to Malaysians: I'm not asking Malaysians to support Palestine. I am encouraging Malaysians with its power, with its efforts, with its international relation, to use its maximum to convince those who are not in favor of the Palestinian cause to support Palestinians as much as they can. Remember Palestine and the Palestinians continuously, and keep us in your pray, keep us in your hearts. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Itu dia, kita bersama Duta Palestin yang berada di Malaysia. Panjang lebar dia mengingatkan kita kembali sejarah-sejarah berkenaan dengan Masjid Al Aqsa, pertubuhannya, pembinaannya, apa pentingnya Al Aqsa kepada kaum agama Islam ataupun komuniti Islam, komuniti, dan macam-macam lagi telah diterangkan pada anda semua berkenaan dengan apa yang terjadi di Al Aqsa ataupun di Palestin. Dengan itu saya akhiri program ni dengan sudahi selamat berbuka puasa. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Dan saya telah menyediakan satu video khas menyajikan untuk pada anda semua untuk mendengar dan menyaksikan sejarah berkenaan dengan Masjid Al Aqsa. Saksikan video berdurasi 6 minit.
Behold, what you are about to see is an unprecedented high-definition tour of Jerusalem's Al Aqsa Mosque compound in 360 degrees. You can look through Islam's third holiest site in more detail than ever before. Millions of feet have walked these grounds, and now you can join them. This tour will take you inside the Dome of the Rock and Al-Qibli Mosque, and around many of the other religious landmarks on the compound's 14-hectare grounds. To experience Al-Aqsa in 360 degrees, drag your mouse around the screen to navigate, or tilt your phone in the direction you'd like to view. You are now atop the central platform housing the Dome of the Rock, which was built on the highest spot of Al Aqsa compound, a plateau that rises 4 meters above the rest of the mosque's courtyard. Caliph Abdul Malik bin Marwan had the dome built in the 7th century on top of a large rock, the spot where Muslims believe the Prophet Muhammad ascended into heaven. It is one of the earliest existing models of Islamic architecture. If you look closely at the Dome of the Rock, you will see that it is decorated with tin-glazed earthenware and verses from the Quran. Also, in this area of the platform is the Dome of Ascension. Can you make out the smaller, crown-shaped dome at its peak? The Dome of Ascension was built to commemorate the Prophet Muhammad's ascension into heaven. In between the two large larger domes, you can see a smaller octagonal dome. This was built to mark the spot where the Prophet Muhammad is believed to have led the prophets and angels in prayer during his night journey. You are now on the eastern side of the Dome of the Rock platform. Move away from the Dome of the Rock and you will see the Dome of the Chain, which is located next to it and used as a space for prayer. The Dome of the Chain is among more than 200 historic and religious sites, domes, and water wells located throughout Al Aqsa compound. Let's go inside the Dome of the Rock. Many Muslims come here to read and discuss the Quran. If you look up, you can see a brilliant mosaic of tiles on the ceiling, and towards the center of the room, a cylindrical column houses the Holy Rock of Ascension. Behind the green plastic sheeting, the dome's artwork and mosaics are being renovated. Do you see the open doorway on the side of the central column? These visitors are going downstairs. Let's follow them. Now we are underneath the Holy Rock of Ascension, in a tiny cave where worshippers come to pray, like this man here. If you look around the whole cave, you will see the space is very small. Only a handful of people can comfortably pray here at any given time. The cave is a naturally occurring structure, and many Muslims believe that it is blessed. We are now back outside in the southern part of the Dome of the Rock's courtyard. If you look opposite from the Dome of the Rock, you will see another arched gate with a view directly towards the silver-domed Al-Qibli Mosque. Further to the right in the background, can you spot the tall gate of the chain minaret overlooking the western wall? If you look directly in front of the arched entrance to the Qibli Mosque, you will see Al-Kas, a circular fountain surrounded by an elaborate iron fence. This is where worshippers perform their ablutions before prayer. We have now stepped inside the Qibli Mosque, a structure that dates back to the 8th century. Look around and you will see worshippers in the midst of prayer. Here's another angle from inside the mosque. If you look up towards the intricately patterned ceiling and then down to where the arched columns meet, can you see the circles containing Arabic script? Written here are the different names for God. The Qibli Mosque is also referred to as Al Aqsa Mosque, although that title more accurately describes the entire 14-hectare compound. If you face in the direction of the green arrow, you'll be facing the Kaaba, the direction where Muslims turn to pray. Al Aqsa Mosque was the first Qibla, or direction of prayer, in Islam. Although the mosque looks peaceful today, it has come under attack numerous times as Israeli soldiers have fired tear gas and rubber-coated steel bullets inside the compound. We are now outside of the Qibli Mosque in the courtyard on its western side. It is raining lightly, and if you listen closely, you can hear the sound of raindrops hitting the ground. From this courtyard, visitors can access the Islamic Museum, located next to the Moroccan Gate. It is believed to be the first museum founded in Palestine. We have now moved further north along the western side of the compound. Across from the Dome of the Rock, along the western boundary of Al Aqsa compound, you can see a number of current and former school buildings. As the sun sets, the compound has largely emptied out. You have now experienced a day at Al Aqsa, and while this day has been peaceful, many others have not. The site has seen much conflict in recent decades, as some Jews, who refer to this site as Temple Mount, want to build a third temple on its grounds. Many Muslims are fearful for its future. Please share this video on Facebook or Twitter